Actually, it's the lead play in our offense. We ask our YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet, get an isolation with the linebacker. Tell the tackle to take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. I'm joined alongside Carly Ray. Tim had to bail last second, so who knows? We may have someone else hop in here in a minute, but we got Carly on the line with us as well. We're just going to kind of recap a little bit of the Super Bowl, and we'll if we have time, we'll do us a quick mock draft at the end like we have been, just trying to gather a little information. If we do get to that, it'll be Pro Football Network's mock draft simulator. I see Jake in the chat too. Jake, if for some reason you want to hop in here too, buddy, feel free. You've got the link. Just jump on anytime you want, man. But with that being said, let's kind of look at the chat real quick. Got people in here already. Josh Martin said, waking up to seeing all the 49ers fans crying was glorious. You'd love to see it, right? Obviously a big rivalry for the Packers there. Margin Cron said, Bosa's the one that got frozen in the backyard. Grantsburg, Wisconsin, cold. The cold emoji. We got Paul Robertson in the chat, said, I'm drinking 49er tears as my choice of diesel tonight. I like it, Paul, for sure, man. Let's see. AFAM in the chat said, Patrick strikes again. When I was asked about the game beforehand, you guys know we talked about it. It's like, I think it's going to be a close game. I personally would rather have seen the 49ers win just because, I kind of like how Brock Purdy carries himself. I like the underdog story. I'm almost always rooting for the underdog, and I'm not talking about the Vegas point spread, but just, when you kind of look at what the Kansas City Chiefs have accomplished already, you'd like to see, in my opinion, a different team, kind of upset them, I guess you could say, although I think they were technically the underdogs, if I remember correctly. Someone said that, or maybe I just heard all the Chiefs fans talking about that. It's funny how they do kind of convince themselves that they're underdogs when they're not, right? Which most of these teams, it's like every team that made the playoffs this year, that's what they were trying to do, is just kind of convince everyone that's out there paying attention and watching, like, hey, look, we're the true underdogs. We're the under. Nobody wants that pressure of, hey, you're the one who's favored to win. But so with that being said, it was still a fun game to watch. I enjoyed it. I thought it was the battle of like they said in the chat, two really good defenses. Obviously, from our perspective, if I remember correctly, let me get my notes here. That was your number 2 and number 3 scoring defense this year, right? And both were excellent at stopping the pass all year long. Kansas City being 2nd, San Francisco being 5th. Kansas City was 25th in stopping the run, and San Francisco was 17th in stopping the run. And I hear fans every season, we get so hung up on, we can't stop the run, right? And that's the frustrating thing for me, is like, you can tell the teams that are always in it at the end, that are looking to, compete for a championship, they put the run defense on the back burner. They really do. And I didn't believe that 3-4 years ago, but studying Greg Cosell constantly, he pointed it out all the time. It was just like, you could tell these teams are they're banking on, hey, look, you're not going to stick with the run. You will not stick with the run. You'll get away from the run. You guys know we've gotten away from the run. Our fans have let LaFleur know about it, right? So it's something that's hard to stay patient to stick with the run like that, right? But, AFAM, what I was getting at there was, for me, it was like, okay, 3 matchups. Most important matchups every Sunday, no matter if it's a playoff game, regular season, or whatever. It's quarterback and quarterback, right? Who had the edge there? Patrick Mahomes or Brock Purdy? I think we would all say Patrick Mahomes, right? Head coach versus head coach. Who you taking, Andy Reid or Kyle Shanahan? I'm taking Andy Reid. He's got the pelts on the wall. And then you get into pass rush. Who's got the better pass rush? You think of Nick Bosa, right, on the edge. And then you also, for Kansas City's side, you think of Chris Jones, right, On 49er side, you think of Eric Armstead, which he was a wrecking. I mean, I'm sure he'll grade out really nice in that game. But to me, the pass rush kind of a push, but the other two matchups tilted in Kansas City's favor. And of course, Kansas City came out on top. So whenever I put a little action on the game, those are the things that I really key in on, is those three key matchups. And that usually will give you a good idea. Now, listen, any given Sunday, anything can happen, right? So, but Carly, what did you think of the game just on the surface? Did you watch the game, first of all? I'm sure you did, right? You're muted, huh?
Thank you. I tried so hard to watch it. But with the kids, I listened. Actually, our internet service for some reason was really, really bad, and the network, there was some issue with it, and so it kept like lagging. So I actually put it on like NFL on my phone, and then was able to then listen to some of the radio broadcasts as well. So I caught, I don't know, maybe about half of it. But I just want to mention here, Jake Shavink kind of confirmed what you said, and I heard it too, that they were, by like Vegas or the line standards, they were underdogs. I think it was like 2.5 points was the, I don't know, spread. Is that the right thing? 2.5 points was the, yes. Yeah. So right. People who were like betting were like saying like, you could have Mahomes and the points if you're betting on them. Like, who would pick anything else? It was kind of funny to hear it from that point of view. But I'm with you. I wanted the 49ers to win. Just because I wanted it to be somebody other than Patrick Mahomes. I just wanted like to shake it up or something different. But I had to work this morning. So I actually went to bed when it went into overtime. I was like, if it would have been Packers, I would have stayed awake. But I was like, I guess we'll see what happens in the morning. But it was it was really cool. I really enjoyed watching the defenses and really like being able to starting to see a little bit of that, like what's actually going on, and seeing when they can. I like that I could hear a lot of what was being said on the line. That does a lot for me when I feel like I can see or I can hear what the players are kind of yelling at each other. That helps me understand it a lot. So I really, really enjoyed the game, what I got to see of it anyway.
Yeah, definitely. It's like the later the game went on, the worse I felt. That's why we didn't do a Good Morning Lambeau. I kind of, by the time I laid down last night, I was like, I'm just going to sleep in. So I slept until 10 a.m. this morning. That does not happen. I'm usually up 5:30, 6 o'clock. And man, I was out of it. So I don't know what happened to me, if it was just a bug or what, or just being depressed that the Packers weren't in the Super Bowl. Maybe that's part of it too, right? So anyway, Jake Shavink in the house says, and not taking advantage of the Mahomes interception. We're going to kind of talk about some of the key plays, because I think it's important. I know it wasn't the Packers playing, but it's important to understand what the defenses were doing, right? And some of the key plays. You guys know I like to key on explosive plays. I feel like explosives and turnovers are the most important statistics that there is in a game, right? It's usually going to determine the outcome. But yeah, he said, and not taking advantage of the Mahomes interception. It's huge, man. You got to maximize that, right? And just on the surface, we always talk about turnover differential and middle eight, right? The turnover differential was tied 2-2, okay? And the middle eight, Kansas City won 3-0. And then lo and behold, Kansas City wins by, one score, right? It almost always plays out like that. So them not being able to take advantage of that interception, that turnover is absolutely huge. Jay says, I was rooting for Usher, really hoping both teams lost. There you go. I thought the halftime show was all right. I'm not a big music person. Mandy loves Usher, loves her. And I thought he did a good job. I don't understand the people who are so quick to critique. And this now, is it my style? Not really. You get Chris Stapleton out there, I'd be a little more engaged. I'd be standing in front of the TV like Mandy was. But there you go. Jake Shavink in the house says, Shanahan certainly got away from the run. Couldn't believe the offensive series they put together after the Mahomes interception. It was deja vu for me, Jake. I kind of felt like that at times with the Packers this year, especially early in the season when they were struggling. Everyone. The popular thing to do was just pile on the defense. But there were so many times that I pointed out, and I got raked over the coals for it, was here we are passing on first down and getting behind the sticks and having a punt going 3 and out. Being the Packers earlier in the season. It's frustrating, right? Because it's like, okay, you had a gift given to you. Lean on that defense a little bit, push on them a little bit. Let your offensive linemen fire off the ball on them. Let them kind of punch them in the mouth. I think many fans don't understand this. I didn't for a long time. And you hear former offensive linemen like Brian Bulaga and Mark Tauser talk about it. When you're pass blocking, you're on defense, as silly as that sounds. You're getting smacked. You're getting hit. You're on your heels. You're having to back up intentionally. When they call a running play, it's your opportunity to go, all right, I'm going to go smack this defensive guy right in the mouth. And when a coach doesn't allow you to do that, you're constantly on your heels. And I think that's how people kind of get the momentum going in the wrong direction. But when it works, we don't complain. When it doesn't work, we're going, duh. Why did you not run the ball, right? Adam in the chat says, Fred Warner, man, unbelievable. I think he's the best inside linebacker in the game. There was multiple times. There was just this streak that came flying through the screen, this red streak, and made a tackle. And I was just like, who in the heck was that? Fred Warner, every time. Just an amazing linebacker, true difference maker for sure. Larry Cano in the chat says, there will probably be one less inside linebacker available to select from in the draft. Feel bad for Greenlaw. It sucked, man. As soon as they showed it too, I thought ACL at first because you just see him go down. But of course, watching it back a couple times, you could tell it was definitely much lower than the knee. And I'm sure it was the Achilles. I don't know if we got official word or not.
Yeah, we did.
So tough, man. So tough to see happen for sure. Deadfish says Clayton maybe got that daddy soda bug. I had a couple daddy sodas. Listen, when you get to my age, a couple daddy sodas is the equivalent to a dose of NyQuil. Next thing you know, you're snoring on the couch, right? And you got a 110-pound German Shepherd laying on your chest. That's the way that works. So, AFAM Rolfs in the chat says, why is there even a clock for OT in the playoffs? That was a big discussion today, and the fact that some of the 49er players didn't even understand the rules, and I really didn't understand them wanting the ball. It's almost as if they didn't know, hey, if you go down and score a touchdown, it's not over, right? The other team's
Well, can I clarify that? Because that was something I was a little bit confused about as well.
Yeah.
So my understanding was that if both teams had a possession, they could still use the clock as like the enemy or whatever and try and like running out the clock was good for the one in the second possession, because if they hadn't scored by the time the clock ran out, that was the end. Like, how many quarters would it have gone on being a new game? Could it have gone on 4 quarters, or like what if the clock had run out, then they just switch sides, start again? But then what? It goes until the other team gets a turnover. So as soon as the 49ers got it again, that would have been the end of the game. So it's another possession that ends the game.
Yeah, and I understand the clock not being as important to what most people think, but if you've got that clock and you're being forced to score before that clock runs out, if you remove the clock completely, right, then what's going to happen is, like Jake says, each possession has to conclude. What's going to happen is the other team's going to run out of time, right? So it puts it kind of gives you a false incentive to take the ball first. That way they're working against the clock if you put together a long drive. But at the same time,
they weren't working against the clock, because the clock literally didn't matter, because had the clock run out, it wouldn't have penalized them at all.
Nah, I think if the clock runs out, the game's over.
No, they said it wasn't. They said that had the clock run out, they would have switched end zones and it would have continued. Really? Yeah, and that's why I was so confused, because I was like, that doesn't seem to make any sense.
Got it. So the problem I have, it's funny because the argument I was making was something totally different too. Like, my point is like, why would you not give them the ball first? Because if they do go down and score, then all right, we've got a 4th down that we can use, right? As opposed to backing yourself into a corner. That was kind of strange there.
Yeah. And that argument still stands, though. I mean, that still makes sense even in the context of switching sides, but it just doesn't. It is really confusing when you think that the game's going to continue. Yeah.
Yeah. So there really is no point in the clock then. Yeah. I was under the assumption that if the clock ran out, hey, you're out of time. You've got to score before that clock runs out. So that's wild. Yeah. And it kind of makes sense now, because like Jake said, each possession has to conclude. That's kind of the way, that makes complete sense.
I didn't mean to show that. I meant to star it, but Deadfish said something here about his strategy.
That I thought they took the ball, San Francisco, to give their defense a chance to rest. They were on the field for the last 4 minutes of the fourth quarter. That's a great point too, Deadfish. If that's the case and they're wore out, right, then yeah, that might be a little bit of the strategery that goes into it as well. So there you go. Let's kind of talk about. Let's get into the fun stuff first, and then we'll break down to the explosives and all that stuff. I know we were kind of in that vein just a second ago. Actually, let's do it. Let's break down the explosives. Let's start there. So I went back and charted the defense, okay? Both defenses is what I really keyed in on. And essentially what you came away with, Kansas City's defense gave up 3 explosive plays the entire game. They were all in the passing game. Okay. San Francisco gave up 4 explosive plays, one of those being the running game. And people were going, wait a minute, they didn't know. No, Kansas City didn't have a good running game. Remember the Mahomes scramble? That was an explosive, right? So 4 explosives against San Francisco's defense, 3 against Kansas City's. Now, what defense were they in? I've got them all charted here. So let's start with, since San Francisco lost, let's just talk about their explosive plays that they allowed, okay? They allowed their first explosive play at the 2-minute mark in the second quarter, okay? It was a 3rd and 9 play, and it was a 21-yard pass by Patrick Mahomes. The defense they were running, cover 1 man, okay? And then you had the interception, of course. This was San Francisco's defense got the interception there in the third quarter. There was 13:41 left in the third quarter, coming right out of halftime. They had an opportunity to win the middle late, the whole 9 yards, right? And they couldn't convert, right? But that man coverage, or that play, that interception came from cover 1 man. And I want to point out that Patrick Mahomes overthrew too, right? So it wasn't like, wow, what great coverage. It was more of an error on Mahomes' part, overshooting his receiver right into the arms of the 49ers. So the next explosive, the second explosive play that the 49ers defense gave up was in the third quarter, 6:40 left. It was a 1st and 10 play. That was the Mahomes run, 22-yard run. The defense San Francisco was playing, cover 1 man. Fourth quarter, 9:16 left, 2nd and 10 play. Mahomes had a 25-yard pass to Watson. The defense that San Francisco was playing was cover 2 zone. So very aggressive zone there. So what you've seen all night long was these defenses were calling aggressive defenses, right? Fourth quarter, 16 seconds left, the 3rd and 7 play to Kelce, 22-yard pass to Kelce. Once again, San Francisco was running cover 1 man, and they actually just ran a little man beater, a mesh play that freed up kind of a double drag mesh that freed up Kelce on the huge 22-yarder that put them down there to where they could score, obviously there in the fourth quarter. So those were the explosive plays in regulation, if you will. So wanted to point out that charting them, both sides, what you essentially had, if you combined both of those defenses, again, the number 2, number 3 scoring defense in the league, you had 7 total explosive plays. 5 of them came in man coverage. 2 of them came in zone. Both of the zones were cover 2, and all the man coverages were cover 1 man. So there was no cover 2 man where you gave up an explosive, and there was no cover 3, cover 4 quarters that gave up an explosive. So essentially what it come down to is they got 1 more explosive play. Kansas City did than San Francisco. They tied the turnover differential, and they ended up winning the middle late because San Francisco couldn't capitalize on that turnover there coming out of the second half. So just wanted to kind of point that stuff out because I think it's important to keep up with what these defenses are doing. At the end of the day, what was the final score? Do you remember what the final score was, Carly? I don't have the box score pulled up anymore. If anybody knows it in the chat, I want to say it was 24.
25-22, I think.
I want you to think for a second too now, because our defense was obviously, I think everybody would agree that by the end of the year, the first half of the year, the defense was the strength of the team for the Packers. But in the second half of the season, obviously the defense kind of collapsed, right? So let's see here. It was 25-22. Let me write that down. 25-22. So granted, there was an overtime period there, though. How many times did the Packers actually give up 25 points this year? Think about that.
Not very many.
If we were to look at the Packers results, right, 2023, I'd like to count this up and actually find out. Not now. No, I don't need you to know my location there, people. Let's see here. So if we go into it, 2023, God, they have got this so screwed up, man. I don't understand. Got all this money to do things right, and they.
Can I just, while you're looking for that, can I interject with a little comment from the chat?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I like this. Whereas continuing the discussion about how overtime works as far as quarters and halftime and all that. So Jake Shavink says, the question is, if there was another halftime, would Usher have to come back out?
I like it. Mandy would have been really happy about that. She would have been fired up. There's no doubt. That's wild. The chatter around the halftime show was just, I mean, it was either people loved it or they hated it. I'm sitting back going, I don't understand why people care this much, to be honest with you.
I was really impressed with the roller skating skills, actually. I thought that was pretty awesome. It takes some skills to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Let's see here. There's Detroit. I'm just trying to tally these up real quick. If you want to continue in the chat.
Yeah, Eldegrim is he says a quick guess before you count. I'd say 4. So he thinks 4 times the Packers gave up more than 25 points.
Okay.
That's a good guess.
And we'll say 25 or more, okay, just to kind of keep it simple. By the way, we kept Kansas City to 19 points when we played them, but we don't play a lot of that aggressive stuff that both those teams did yesterday. So there's one with Tampa. We'll never forget.
Paul Robertson says 4 or 5 is my guess.
Yeah. Let's see. Just about there. We're getting there. If you count the Cowboys game, which there was a lot of mop-up time there in the playoffs, if you counted that one, it would be 5. If you don't count Dallas, because obviously we just kind of took our starters out and everything, and then had to put them back in, of course, it would have been 4 regular season, and then that one against Dallas, which obviously we held the Niners to 24 points when they beat us in the divisional round. So just to kind of draw that parallel, I'm trying to set the proper expectations for next year for myself mainly. Like, okay, what is a realistic goal for points per game for this defense next year, right? That's kind of the way I'm looking at it going in, because if we end up giving up more points next year than we did this past year, it's going to be hard for me to just jump on the whole bandwagon of, yes, this was the right move. Like, because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Now, if it's one of those games where your offense turns the ball over 3 times, you got to kind of say, okay, this one, more on the offense than the defense, that type of thing. But, yeah. So let's see. Eldegrim says Packers were like 10th in scoring defense at the end of the regular season. Yeah, I want to say they finished like 12th in PPP, but I could be wrong points per play. I'd have to go back and look at it for sure. But so just wanted to kind of get that information put together there. The explosives happened because the defenses were playing aggressive. And when it comes down to is San Francisco gave up one more explosive play than Kansas City, right? And just to kind of put that into perspective, if we looked at what they did all year long, right? When you look at explosive plays that you've given up, Kansas City led the league with only 76. Okay. Obviously when I say lead the league, they had the fewest explosive total plays, right? With only 76, San Francisco gave up 80. So they were both really good at stopping the explosive plays all year long. There's no doubt about that. When you look at San Francisco's defense and you look at the New York Jets defense, that's probably the best guesstimate of what Hafley's defense is going to look like as far as from a schematic standpoint. But San Francisco gave up 80 explosive plays. That was 4th best. And I think the Jets were like 12th. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, they were 12th in explosive plays allowed. So Green Bay way down there at the bottom, right? And people, immediately were like, well, the Fangio system wasn't working. They weren't running the Fangio system last year. We were in single high, 5th most in the league, right? So it was very, very rare that you actually played the play out and you were in shell coverage. They would show a lot of shell and rotate out of it, obviously. So there you go with it. Now, since before we move on from the Super Bowl, got a couple of really cool things to hit on here. And again, I know it's a Packers podcast, but I thought it would be really neat to kind of just dive into the history a little bit and some of the X's and O's of what actually happened in that game last night. All right. So let's lead off with what we call return of the corn dog. Okay. I'm going to share the screen here. This play was labeled corn dog. All right. This was the game winning play, right, that Kansas City ran. I'm going to play this and then a couple other videos. We're going to tie it together because all this comes from the West Coast offense that originated. Obviously, it started in Cincinnati with Bill Walsh. He brings it to San Francisco, makes it famous. It then becomes the West Coast offense. Obviously, Mike Holmgren comes from San Francisco to Green Bay, brings it to Green Bay. Who did he bring with him? Andy Reid. Then Andy Reid goes on to Philly and Kansas City and is continuing to run the same system, the same scheme all these years later. And it's really cool because Bill Walsh was always like, we're attacking the same amount of space on the field. We're just doing it out of different looks. It's a perfect example of it. I want you to look at where they ran this play last year, too, they being Kansas City.
Quick throw. Tony's got it. Tony walks in. Touchdown, Kansas City. First and goal. Mahomes flings it. It's there. Hardman. Jackpot, Kansas City.
So obviously they call it return of the corn dog. The play is called corn dog. That's their code name for it, okay? And if you play it again with no sound, you see up top the way they did it in whatever, I guess that was last year's Super Bowl, right? The way they did it out of a 2x2 set, but they still use what they call shuttle motion, okay? This is what I refer to as yo-yo, right? Where you motion one way, as soon as the ball snapped, or even before the ball snapped, you're yo-yoing back, okay? That's what I've always heard it called. They called it shuttle. That was just a quick snap and throw, little hip toss. Not many quarterbacks can make that throw off the hip too. Mahomes absolutely crushed it. Then this year, you got the same exact play, right? Now look, different look though. They're out a bunch nasty X here. So what she's going to use F shuttle, what they call F shuttle, which I would call F yo-yo, right? Play action, sprint right. They broke out sprint right on this play. Now if I take it back, the first one, this isn't a sprint right play. This is just a flip it out there and go, right? Now you're probably going, what is sprint right? What is sprint right?
Where you go right as fast as you can?
Pretty much, right? We're going to get to it here in a second. I want to play this first. This was from Sunday Night Football's Twitter account. And this is the great Peter King from SI. I think he's still with SI. Now he's a part of Monday Morning. What is it? Monday Morning Quarterback, whatever he used to call. I think it's Monday Morning something else. Now they had to change the name. But nonetheless, this is Peter King from SI. Him talking to Andy Reid, and listen to Andy Reid break this play down. This is absolutely awesome.
They're 12. So that puts McCall in. And 2 tight ends, 1 running back.
Yeah.
Tom and Jerry Wright, one-way play. We don't have a lot of one-way plays, but this is it.
Yeah.
And it's gun, trips right bunch, F shuttle.
Okay.
And that gives you a little corn dog with
Let me ask you this. What is the part of that play that denotes the motion?
The shuttle. X shuttle.
Okay, shuttle. All right.
Easy X.
Okay.
All right. So it is actually F shuttle. If you heard him the first time, what he said is what he meant was F shuttle. Okay. So if we play it back again, we're going to pause it as he says this stuff. Okay. And again, his play call on corn dog here, the 2024 version, is corn dog is what they would call it. They just, hey, radio it in corn dog. All the other information has to be relayed to the position coaches to get the right personnel on the field. Their play call was Tiger 12, Tom and Jerry right, gun trips, right bunch, F shuttle. I'm going to play it again and pause it as we go.
Tiger 12.
Tiger 12 is real simple. Tiger is the code word for McCole Hardman. 12 is obviously 1 running back, 2 tight ends. So you're going to go Tiger 12. That tells, when he calls that in, when he's looking at the play chart and he says Tiger 12, that tells the position coaches, get McCole in. We're going Tiger 12. All right, Tigers, McCole, you're in. 12 personnel. We know who the 2 tight ends are, all that. Let's roll it again.
So that puts McCole in. And 2 tight ends, 1 running back.
That's the 12, 2 tight ends, 1 running back.
Tom and Jerry Wright.
Tom and Jerry Wright. Okay. This is basically sprint right. They call it Tom and Jerry Wright. Check it out.
One-way play. We don't have a lot of one-way plays, but this is
one-way play. We don't have a lot of one-way plays. What he's saying there is it's one read. It's sprint right, and you're going to read the flat, possibly run. You got very little time on the clock. What was there, like 16 seconds or whatever it was on the clock? You're muted, Carly.
Sorry. Does that mean there's no progression? One read, no progression.
Correct. It's just okay. Sprint right. He's going to sprint right. He's going to play fake, maybe give a little look that way. Sprint right. There are other targets, but there's only one true progression, meaning if he gets to the right and McCole isn't open and he can't run, he has no way of running, you can glance at those other guys. Okay, you could take a look at them. But the goal is if it's not there, if you can't get in, you can't just throw that thing away, right? We'll live to play another down. So that's what that means.
Is it?
Yep.
And it's gun, trips right bunch, F shuttle.
Gun, trips right bunch, F shuttle, right? You guys know what that means. You're in shotgun, your trips right. Okay. That trips right. When he says trips right, that's telling you right is the strong side of the field, which obviously if the trips are on that side of the field, it's going to make 2 of the tight ends be over there unless you specify Y flex, Y wide, something like that. Right. So that's how you get that portion of the play.
Okay.
And that gives you a little corn dog with
let me ask you this. What is the part of that play that denotes the motion?
The shuttle. X shuttle.
Now, see, it says X shuttle there, but I think what he was actually saying is F shuttle. The subtitle says X shuttle. Okay. And the reason being, because if you take it back, your X typically is opposite the tight end. Look at the bottom of the screen. Your X is on the line of scrimmage opposite the tight end. So the bottom receiver there will be your X. Okay. Then you would have your Y and your U tight ends. And then the other one would be F, YF, because that's what they refer to as flyer sometimes. Okay. Flyer or F. Now, some people use different terminology. They would just refer to him as the Z. But whenever you're using motion, if he motions over, sometimes those positions can change if you got multiple wide receivers in. So I hear it referred to as F. And he did say X at the end. There could be something there I'm missing, but that's the way I understand it. He meant F shuttle, which is to me F yo-yo. So this play was Tiger 12, Tom and Jerry right, gun trips, right bunch, F shuttle. If I were
who is he explaining that to again?
That is Peter King. He may still be with them. He was with Sports Illustrated forever. I mean, forever. He's just a senior writer for Sports Illustrated, done a lot of work with Brett Favre, kind of following his MVP rise and all that back in the 90s. Just a sports media member. And you're probably going, how he's trusting this guy with this information? Peter King is one of the most trusted media members on the face of the planet. This is how he gets inside doors, is because he doesn't give information away that the coaches don't allow him to give. He's just kind of earned that trust. But yeah, that's who that is. So again, Tiger 12, Tom and Jerry right, gun trips, right bunch, F shuttle. What I would call it if I was doing this on Chalk Talk, and you'll notice my play call is much longer. That's why sometimes on Chalk Talk I'll say they'll have a code name for it. They may have one word. They might have 2 or 3 number system, right? Obviously they called it corn dog. And then when it got called into Mahomes, all the details are called in. He relays that in the huddle, and they break. But what I would call it is 12 gun, bunch nasty X, strong right, F yo-yo, play action, sprint right, F flat. That gives you more information to specifically describe exactly what the play is, as opposed to just, well, the players know what the play is. You seen Peter's like, okay, what's that shuttle? Like, what denotes the motion? That's the shuttle, right? Which we may start using shuttle. It sounds a lot more professional than yo-yo, right? But that's just what I've always heard it called down here in Tennessee. But we are a bunch of yo-yos down here. Now, the sprint right aspect, I'm going to mute it again, okay? And as they play it here, there you see the shuttle, right? He's going to yo-yo back, sprint right. Notice there's some options down here, but look at number 80. He's just kind of walling that defender off in the upper left corner. He's not really looking to get too much into the route, right? And he's looking for the flat here, run it himself or just throw it away. Luckily, the flat was just wide open, right? So now when we talk about the history of the West Coast offense, right? And again, we played the return of the corn dog. We played Peter King and Andy Reid breaking that play down. Again, they called it Tiger 12, Tom and Jerry right, gun trips, right bunch, F shuttle, right? Check this play out. This is the play from the catch. This is Bill Walsh breaking down the play where Joe Montana hit Dwight Clark in the back of the end zone. Now you'll hear, I think this has actually got Bill Walsh telling him, look, if it's not there, just throw it away. You'll kind of get the mindset. But you'll notice they do it out of a pro set. Okay, what do I mean by pro set? Let me add it here real quick. Look at the play call on the bottom right. They're in what we call a pro set. Okay, they're in pro set twins. You got your F. Notice the F is different here. It was fullback, halfback, okay, because different systems have different lettering or whatever. You got your Y left. So this would have been, They probably had a code name for it. They call it red left slot sprint right option. Okay. What I would refer to this play as far as it would be pro set. So I would call this 21 pro set strong right, 21 pro strong left, twin right is what I would call that formation if I was breaking it down. Okay. So notice how there's 2 options. Rather than someone going into the flat out of a bunch set, you just got a 2-by set over there, right? You got a 1 and a 2. The Z, who is obviously, look at the X. The X is on the line of scrimmage opposite the Y. The Z is in the slot. He's playing off the line of scrimmage. He's going to run just kind of a quick out, and they run what we called slide with the X, which was Dwight Clark, if I remember correctly. He's going to go fake a crosser and then slide back. So he's going to give Montana a second option. So Montana is going to sprint right. He's going to try to look for the Z. If the Z isn't there, buy time. If it ain't there, throw it out of the back of the end zone over the X. But if X is open, try to hit him. Montana puts the ball in a perfect spot. Check this out. And we're going to get hit with a copyright. If the stream goes down, it'll come right back. It's because of NFL Films' music. And obviously this clip, check it out.
Break into the corner. Okay, you got it? Dwight, we're clear. Dwight is in here sliding back out. This is great when they're tired and they're confused. They want to get back to Dallas. This is when you knock their ass off.
Can't really see it.
What's that?
We can't really see it because it's hidden behind the other things. Is there a way? Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Break up and break into the corner. Okay, you got it? Dwight, we're clear. Dwight is in here sliding back out. This is great when they're tired and they're confused. They want to get back to Dallas. This is when you knock their ass off. If you don't get what you want, you'll just simply throw the ball away. So not there, away you go. You're ready to go to Dwight, you got it?
Everything hangs in the balance now. The season, the outcome of the Super Bowl berth hangs in the balance. Montana rolling out the right, looking toward the end zone, throwing under pressure, throws his pass, caught by Clark.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Now we're going to mute it here. All right, let's walk through it. Well, actually, we'll turn it up. I'm gonna pause it as we go.
Break up and break into the corner. Okay, you got it? Dwight, we're clear. Dwight is in here sliding back out. This is great when they're tired and they're confused. They want to get back to Dallas. This is when you knock their ass off. If you don't get what you want, you'll just simply throw the ball away. So not
if you don't get what you want, you just simply throw the ball away. That's the beautiful thing about sprint right off.
there, away you go. You're ready to go to Dwight, you got it?
Everything hangs in the balance now. The season, the outcome of the Super Bowl berth hangs in the balance. Montana.
All right, right here. Notice he's just hanging in there. He's got two defenders in his face. He's going to throw the ball away if he needs to, right? But what he does is just put it in a perfect spot where only Dwight Clark can catch it, or it falls incomplete. You live to play another down. I just think it's really cool that however many years apart that this was in the mid to late 80s. I think it might have been the early 80s. Definitely mid 80s, let's call it. So you're talking about what, 90, 1010, 20, what was that, 40 years ago? Am I thinking right?
Almost, because I was born in the 80s and I'm 37.
Like you got to remind me about. I was born in so just think about that. 40 years apart, and they're running the same concept. So when you hear us talk about that, like on Chalk Talk and stuff, this is what we're talking about. You're running the same plays. You're attacking the same space. You're doing it out of different looks. Andy Reid did it in back-to-back years. I'm going to pull this up again, make sure it's muted here. And Return of the Corn Dog. All right. Now look, top screen last year, they're doing it out of 2x2 set. Okay. 2x2 set. They're going to use the shuttle. They even added in some shuttle motion or some yo-yo, right? So there you go. Wide open. Accomplishing the same things. This wasn't a sprint right? This is what they refer to as corn dog. Now they go to a one-way play, right? This is what they call Tom and Jerry right. Same exact way you're going to attack the same space, or you're going to attack the same space. You're going to do it in a different way. This time they're using sprint right option. Bang.
You know what they call that, Clayton?
What's that?
Roadhouse.
Hey, there's no
That was
one.
for Tim.
There's no one who wants to hate on the Kansas City Chiefs more than me. But the fact that they went to kind of a throwback approach to win that game, they did it in a way that they mixed it up. They showed it from a different look. Like I said, Walsh did it with a pro set, strong left, twin right. Then last year, Andy Reid did it out of a 2x2 set with some F shuttle, right? And then this year, you went bunch nasty X, essentially, which what they referred to as just gun trips right bunch. There's probably a code name they use for that too that they wanted to keep hidden too, so people aren't reading the mouse. But I love the name.
Hey, we got a super chat here that's been waiting for a while.
Oh Lord, you got to let me know about those. Jay with the super chat. Thank you so much. But he said, I heard a snippet from another pod describe Hafley's scheme as absolute chaos around the line of scrimmage. Got me really excited for next season. Go Pack, go! I've heard people say that too. I don't know how to say this without being an a-hole. Everything that Hafley did last year, or everything that they're talking about Hafley doing, we've done here. Like I went back and I watched like the first 6 games of the season, and you could see over and over and over them running twists, them running stunts, them running mugs, them being the Packers defense, mugging the line of scrimmage. How many times did we talk about it on Chalk Talk where I said, double A mug or, Mike mug, whatever. It's the same thing. We've been doing it. It's just when the people hear what they want to hear, right? And when they're describing it, it's like, oh my God, we've never seen this before. And I think of Greg Cosell last year when they were talking about how the Chiefs were attacking quarter coverage and beating cover 4. and Greg Cosell laughed because he's like, people were like, oh man, how did the Chiefs finally figured out how to beat the cover 4? Now everybody will know. He's like, it's always been there. It's the way people have always beat cover 4. It's with choice routes and deep digs, walking it out on a dagger concept, like walk the safety out, attack underneath. Kind of the same thing with the mug in the line of scrimmage.
Maybe it's going to be so much better because the technique's going to be better. So the overall scheme's just going to work better because he's so focused on the technique, like with what Coach Haddad came on and was saying about focusing on these little things that make such a huge difference. Maybe that makes the difference.
Absolutely. And that's a totally different conversation. I hope that's the case. I really do. And that's what gives me the most hope, is because everyone that I've spoken to says what you're getting in Hafley is an excellent DB coach. And, it's reassuring to hear because these are people I trust. And when we go back and look at, like when he was the position coach with the 49ers, their grades were really bad in the secondary, right? It doesn't mean that it's the same 49ers personnel that was there when D'Amico was there, or even now, or, with the Jets or what have you. It's a long time ago too. The fact that these former coaches, former players like Richard Sherman are constantly bragging on Hafley gives me a lot of hope. But as far as that, people describing as absolute chaos around the line of scrimmage, that's the stuff that's what I'm specifically referring to here, is like, it's you're not going to see anything we've never done before. I guarantee you, as we get into next year and they run one of these chaotic, around the line of scrimmage plays, I'll be able to pull up one or two plays from this past year and go, right here, we did it right here too. Right. So as long as, like you said, the technique is better, as long as the, what am I trying to say here? The execution is better, as much as that word gets thrown around by both the media and players and coaches. It's so true. That's the one thing that this defensive coaching staff failed miserably at, was these players over and over and over were playing with bad technique and horrible execution, right? And that falls on the...
That's what she said! Michael, please.
I love it. I love the Jim at the end, the little grin, man. Jim makes it show. So, yeah, thanks for the super chat, Jay. I think you're probably going to see more than what we have seen in the past, for sure. I'm excited to see how that all unfolds. I think I had a screen grab here. I know I had a quote. I think I've still got it. Let's see here. Yeah, here we go. Matt Schneidman tweeted this out since we're on the Hafley talk. He said, quote, these are quotes from other players, okay, that have played for him. Richard Sherman, quote, he's going to be a great fit. Jordan Fuller, quote, his name was the Wizard. So they gave him the nickname the Wizard because of his ability to scheme things up. Isaiah McDuffie, a linebacker on our team, right? Quote, he breaks down his film so precisely. So you're seeing every coach has a strength and weakness, right? 9 times out of 10, unless you're, like the Bill Belichick's, the Andy Reids of the world that's just absolutely dominated with their dynasties. Hafley's superpower, if you will, just like Aaron Rodgers' superpower was that quick release, right? Accuracy and quick release. Hafley's superpower is going to be his ability to scheme, right? To be able to draw up plays so precisely, like they're talking about, breaking down the film so precisely. And again, Matt Schneidman says, spoke with a player from each of Hafley's last 3 stops about the new Packers DC. So those were basically the quotes that came from that. Obviously, Isaiah McDuffie played for him at BC. So just something to kind of keep an eye on there. I think it's cool that the players are so confident in him, right? He's definitely going to be a player's coach. It seems like that, which I think Barry was, but Barry was way too far in that direction. Like he came across like the type of coach that would never jump on a player, right? And I think on the defensive side of the ball, there's something to be said for the great defensive minds have been a-holes, for lack of a better word, right? Rex Ryan's, your Bill Belichick's, your, you can go all the way down the line. Buddy Ryan. Just think of some of the great defensive minds. Steve Spagnuolo, not as much in Kansas City, but that's one that kind of gives you hope, right? When you talk about Kansas City's DC, he is big on scheme, big on drawing the plays up, big on execution, all those things. He's not a very fire on fire kind of guy. He seems like one of the nice guys in the league. That gives you hope for Hafley. Like if he could be that type of a coach, for sure. So, all right, let's go check out the chat real quick. I know we got a bunch of bunch of them in here. Mark, let's rattle through them real quick. Deadfish says, I thought they took the ball, San Francisco, to give their defense a chance to rest. We already hit on that one, didn't we? Eldegrim says, the only reason I could see would be to give their defense a breather, or Jair snuck out to do the coin toss in Warner's jersey. Still catching strays. Deadfish says, unlike regular season overtime, postseason overtimes use 15-minute quarters and is played like a whole new game. That includes a halftime if the game remains tied at second overtime. That's really good stuff there, man. Appreciate you looking that up. Ron Sandville says, overshot receiver as a result of the pressure. I didn't see it that way. If I remember correctly, I wish I had the play to pull up, talking about the Mahomes interception. It seemed like he had well over 4 seconds to throw that ball. So anything, here's the rule of thumb for me. Anything over 3 seconds, that's on the QB. You got to go through your progressions that quick. As the ball's snapped, you should be through your first progression, meaning I know I'm going to number 1 or I'm moving to number 2. By the time you finish half of your drop, you should be number 2 and on to number 3. So if you do need to get to number 3, when you finish that drop, it's going to be one hitch, let it go, 3 seconds, the ball's out, right? You know, some of the best quarterbacks in the league, what Tom Brady was so good at was quick release, getting the ball out in under 3 seconds. So if I remember correctly, though, Mahomes had time. He kind of held the ball. He might have had pressure on him at the end. But again, I don't really consider it, man, the pressure got to him when a quarterback holds the ball for more than 3 seconds, you know. Yeah, there you go. Let's see here. Liddy in the chat says, you would still want the ball first, given both teams score a touchdown. Then you have the first opportunity to score the game-winning points, touchdown or field goal. I think that's a valid point too. You know, if the rules are as we think they are there, right?
And I think that's what Shanahan said in his press conference, that he wanted it to be sure of getting it in like a, what do they call it? Like when in a rematch where it's just sudden death. When in a sudden death, he wanted it, but then in order for it to be that, he really needed to go for the touchdown. Right. I feel like, but
yeah. And then you had Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce in the post game, you know, up on the booth with the post game crew or whatever. And they said, yeah, no, if we had won the toss, we were going to give them the ball first, because we want to know what you're really weighing out there is what Liddy's saying here, the advantage from that standpoint. But the other advantage point from the other side is knowing whether or not you need to use your fourth down. You're basically picking up an extra attempt on each drive. You know what I'm saying? So that's just as important, I think, too. Professor Cakes, good to see you in there, bud, says it's a double-edged sword because if you get the ball first and score a touchdown, you have the advantage. But if you take the ball first and don't score a touchdown, you're now at a disadvantage. I love the conversations around it. It's why football is so great, man. It's just like everybody breaks everything down. Jake Shavink says, at Deadfish, the question is, if there was another halftime, would Usher come out? That's what you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I hope he was hydrated if he come out for another show. My God, that boy was – I can't remember who tweeted it. Somebody had the tweet of the night. They said somebody's going to tear an ACL slipping on Usher's sweat in the second half.
I seriously think they sprayed it on, because if you look right before that one when he came out, he had no sweat whatsoever. And then he comes out and he's just drenched. I honestly think they sprayed it on his face like some sort of oil, because you never saw him wiping it or anything. But if it was really sweat, it would have burned his eyes. I mean, maybe he's practiced. I'm just saying. Hang on. I know the right one.
I got to hit you with it. So Carly says there's a conspiracy that the sweat was not real on Usher. Put it on the ticker. Put it down. I love it. Absolutely love it. Professor Cake says, how can you say KS ghosted the run game? CMC had I think maybe she's trying to say San Francisco ghosted the run game. CMC had 22 carries. He averaged like 3.6 yards per carry last night. I don't know. Did somebody say they ghosted the run game? I can't remember.
Didn't you say something about them not really focusing on the run game? Not focusing on stopping the run game. But how can we say that? Because he averaged so few yards per carry.
Yeah, I mean, like with how the defense is called, it's not necessarily, okay, we're going to call this defense to shut down the run, right? Both of these defenses played pretty well all year long. Like I said, they were geared around stopping the pass. I don't remember specifically what they were doing to stop the run. What I'm simply saying is the point I was making is offenses will get away from the run. They're not patient enough to stick with the run, right? Like in that case right there, Jake pointed out right in the chat that San Francisco comes out and just threw the ball rather than lean on the run there, right? Even at 3.6 yards a carry, you do the math, right? That basically, if you run the ball on first and second down at 3.6 yards a pop, right? Let's just say it's 3 yards. You're now looking at 3rd and 4 as opposed to 2nd and 10 and 3rd and 8 or possibly 3rd and 10. That's what we say, staying ahead of schedule, right? So that's the only point I was making was that, according to Greg Cosell and how people played Kansas City the last few years, it's like, hey, look, we'll give you the run because we know you're not patient enough to stick with the run. That makes sense. Paul Robertson says six or seven of our games this year involved our defense playing against backup quarterbacks. I wouldn't be surprised if we give up more points next year, but have a better record. That's an interesting take. Sure. Okay, got it. Let's see. Doug in the chat says, I always wondered what the 2010s Packers would have done if they had the 1990s defenses. Those 90s defenses covered up far as picks all the time. That's a good point too, man. To turn the ball over as much as they did and still come away with the success they had. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty wild that you can kind of overcome that. Deadfish says, all these years I thought that was a scramble drill by Montana when it was a design play all along. Yep, sprint right option, man.
Oh, we're going to give him some
Michael Lombardi talks about it all the time, man. Sprint route option. Like Andy, he always says these teams, they outsmart themselves. Isn't it funny? I remember him saying this 2 years ago. People are too good to run sprint route option. It's just a dinosaur play. Andy Reid runs it, wins Super Bowls. And then lo and behold, this year they kind of mix in a little sprint right look along with it. Pretty cool stuff. So there you go. So let's see. Professor Cake says KS equals Kyle Shanahan. My run game comment was more directed towards people in the chat. Gotcha, Professor Cakes. That makes sense. Yeah, as far as like, saying they ghosted the run, I mean, it's obvious they did do something to shut down the run, right? 3.6 yards or whatever it was a pop. You expect more out of Christian McCaffrey. How about that wide receiver throwback? That was wild. That was one of the explosive plays. I think that was against Kansas City's defense. Obviously, San Francisco ran it. They ran it was a Jennings touchdown pass where they ran a wide receiver throwback and then hit Christian McCaffrey for the touchdown, right, with the pass from Jennings. That was if I remember correctly, that was over 20 yards. It was definitely over 20 yards. So it was an explosive for a touchdown, and that too was against cover one man. So, yeah, you see cover one, man, it's aggressive. It's really aggressive, and when it hits, great. When it doesn't, you tend to give up more explosive plays, right? Like I said, 7 total explosive plays in the game, at least in regulation, and 5 of them were against man, only 2 against zone, and both those were cover 2. One was an invert cover 2 as well, if I remember correctly. So there you go. With that being said, let me see what else we were going to hit on here, man. This show flew by, but I'm glad we got to kind of dip into the history of the league a little bit, man. We talked about the explosives. We talked a little bit about Jeff Hafley, right? We could wrap it up with this. Let's do a quick mock draft because I need to get these out of the way. You guys good with that? You all right with that, Carly? Do a quick mock draft? You muted over there, so you probably.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm fine with that. Real quick, because sometimes your real quicks end up taking a half hour.
All right, real quick.
Real quick. Oh, here we go, Jake. He is the one.
Yeah.
He should help you with this because I would just say yes to everybody because I really don't know who anyone is yet.
Got it. Get out of here, Carly, if you need to. All right. Good to see you. Jake, you ready to do a mock draft, man?
Absolutely.
Always, right?
You say mock draft, I come running.
I know it, man. It's like you had it on speed dial there. So We're going to use Pro Football Network. All right, we're going to go NFL Mock Draft Simulator. We're going to go quick, 53-minute mark, so we need to get out of here kind of soon. Trying to keep the pods down a little bit. But you can see everything on the screen, right? Actually, let's go full screen. That's cool with you.
Yeah.
That way everybody can see it a little bit better, right? So what we're going to do is send all the picks, obviously, other than the Packers picks. I got the needs listed here, at least the needs that we came up with. And, Jake, in case you missed some of the shows, the purpose of this is to pretend like we could do nothing in free agency, all right? We're having the draft before free agency. And what we're trying to do is compile information to see, okay, how easy is it to fill these needs before free agency, okay? Sure. And then that'll kind of set the stage for us in free agency as to, okay, here's where we probably need to be a little bit aggressive as far as trying to get positions filled on the roster at these specific positions. Okay. So needs, what we've got listed is 4 safeties, 4 corners, 3 O linemen, 1 D lineman, 2 linebackers, 1 tight end, 1 halfback, 1 edge. Obviously, this is because we did not sign any of our current, people that are set to hit free agency. So, with that being said, let's do it. Let's roll it here.
All right.
We hit resume draft, and here we are. We're going to reject all trades. So, we're going to take J.J. McCarthy right off the bat, right? That's your guy.
Right.
Can't get away from that name, can you? So,
No.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to treat actually, you know what? We'll go away from using theirs as the official draft board. So if there's someone you like better in these situations, we're going to let you kind of make the picks. I'll throw in a little bit of input too. Okay. So based on the needs, the strongest needs we have, in my opinion, if we could not use free agency and we couldn't re-sign our current free agents, would be safety, corner, offensive line, then linebacker. All right. So on the board, J.J. McCarthy, quarterback out of Michigan, quarterback Bo Nix out of Oregon, defensive tackle Byron Murphy the second out of Texas. Then you got Quinyon Mitchell at number 25.
Yeah.
My goodness. Cam Kinchins at number 29. Graham Barton, offensive guard out of Duke at number 30. What are you thinking here, Jake? What would you do if these were the guys available? And I can click on anything. You just tell me what position or what have you.
This could not be any easier right here. We are taking Quinyon Mitchell. This is Goody has like sprinted around the room. He's high-fiving everybody, right? Oh my gosh, he's here, fist bumps. Like, they don't got to take any time for that.
I love it, dude. Yeah, could you imagine if he somehow, some way fell to them? There ain't no way. There's no way, bro.
I don't think so.
All right, so we got us a starting corner, in my opinion. He's going to be starting on the sideline, right along the boundary, if you will, opposite Jair Alexander. Then I guess we could try to fill a slot at some point or another. But love that pick right there. Absolutely love it, man. So now with the
Steelers are in our ear. They got
What's
a mole. The Pittsburgh Steelers got a mole in the draft room. Look at that. One pick before right there.
Yeah, they do. You're right, man. What the heck? Jackson Powers Johnson, center from Oregon, went right before we picked. Pittsburgh always thorn in our side, bro. So we got us a corner. All right, now we're at pick 41. Best players available: Leonard Taylor, defensive tackle out of Miami; wide receiver Xavier Legette out of South Carolina; Lab McConkey, wide receiver out of Georgia; Xavier Worthy, wide receiver out of Texas. Look at this, wide receiver Troy Franklin out of Oregon. There's just a cluster right here. So I think we would all agree we don't need any wide receivers. We don't need quarterbacks, right? So really what you got to do is hop down here. Leonard Taylor, defensive line, that's a need for us, in my opinion. Yeah. We could look at that. We also have cornerback TJ Tampa. Surely we wouldn't go back-to-back corners, would we? What are you thinking here, Jake? I can scroll up or down, man. Talk to me.
Funny you should mention going back-to-back corners. I think that'd be very interesting here with Tampa there. But I do think if Green Bay's sitting here and they have potentially a young player in Leonard Taylor who has room for growth as a pass rusher. He's played some nose tackle. Now, was that to maybe the detriment of his development, maybe a little bit at Miami? But you see, there's a lot of potential there.
Okay.
Unless there's somebody, I think both safeties are gone. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's go defense.
Pretty sure. Yeah.
Yep, they are. Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, I thought I saw Newman might have gone in the first.
Mm-hmm.
It might come down to just if we're looking like best player available. I think you're looking. I can see 4 names on there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Taylor. I think it's Tampa. I think Edgerrin Cooper becomes a conversation here as well, and then probably potentially Trice or Braswell does as well. Both are fits on the edge for that team, no doubt about it. I mean, if we want to stick with kind of just, let's take what PFN is giving us as value,
mm-hmm.
I think you can roll with Taylor or Tampa here and feel pretty good about either one.
Let's do it. Let's take Taylor.
All right.
So we take defensive tackle Taylor in that situation. So we have our defensive lineman. We fulfilled that need. That's great news, right? Now we're to the 58th pick. Top prospects: wide receiver out of Georgia, Lab McConkey; quarterback Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington; edge defender Braylon Trice out of Washington; linebacker Jalen Ford out of Texas; defensive tackle Michael Hall Jr. out of Ohio State; offensive tackle Patrick Paul; defensive tackle Chris Jenkins. So obviously we really don't need another defensive lineman. We already took a corner too. What are we thinking here, man? Is this where we maybe go linebacker? How do you feel about Jalen Ford, linebacker?
I think he's another Jalen Ford to me feels like another one of those guys that really runs and chases extremely well. I think you're putting him kind of in the same vein if you'd put an Edgerrin Cooper.
Okay.
So if it's something where the Packers go, okay, and Hafley's thinking he's thinking ahead. He's like, all right, Quay's going to be our Mike or our Sam linebacker that drops on the edge, right, when we need him to.
Yep.
And if they want Ford to kind of be the guy who's in coverage a lot, right? Obviously, if they're a nickel, you probably potentially give him some looks out there. But if there are three linebackers on the field and you want him to be the weak side backer, I'm not opposed to that.
Okay.
I do think that seems high. I'm kind of surprised. That's what's interesting of which I like that you're doing. You're going to every different simulator because
right.
There's not a lot of simulators that'll have Jalen Ford this high, and I think Cedric Gray's at like 65, which is another interesting linebacker that Green Bay I think would be interested in.
Let's see here. There you go.
There you go. Oh, and Trotter's still here.
Ooh, Trotter Jr. Trotter Jr. is my guy, by the way. Anyway, he's my favorite linebacker in this draft. And I know he's undersized, 6 foot tall, right? But as far as, it seems like Goody and them between Devondre Campbell and Quay Walker, they like those 6'3", 6'4s, right?
It does seem that way, yeah. They seem to like a little taller players, but
What
hard to argue with how Trotter plays, man. It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah.
Might be able to wait, though. I think we take our chances at linebacker here. If Braylon Trice is still available in this spot, I'm not sure how they're passing on that. He's going to be 6'3", 6'4", around 270. That's exactly what Green Bay wants in defensive end. Nice. And I know this is there you go, 269. Yes. Yeah,
ooh, that's a big old boy,
big guy.
You can put 5 pounds on him easy too.
Yeah, pressure cooker, really, a true pressure cooker on the edge.
Nice.
No matter who he played all year. I feel like if we're just kind of, I know we're looking at needs and a lot of that, but it's like value's presenting us with a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
The defensive side of the ball.
Really what it comes down to is, edge defender, obviously a position of tier 1 importance, right? Sure. Offensive tackle, same thing, Patrick Paul. You got, like I said, Braylon Trice ranked, 5 spots ahead of Patrick Paul. I think I'm good with Braylon Trice here. I know offensive tackle is a little more of a need, but we don't want to get into let's grab every need that we have. We got to pretend as if these are the best players on the board.
Yeah.
And we know Goody loves his edge defenders, right? So let's go Braylon Trice. You good with it?
Yeah, I think so.
Braylon Trice, edge defender out of Washington. All right, so we got our one edge, and some people are going, well, you got Gary, you got Van Ness, you got Preston Smith. What are we doing? You got Kingsley Enagbare.
Here's what we're doing.
Yeah,
Kingsley available linebacker. Boom.
Kingsley Enagbare is probably going to be unavailable for most of the season, right? I don't know if he'll have that Rashawn Gary type, return that soon. What do you think of for Kingsley Enagbare, Jake, as far as return? You think it'd probably be November-ish at least?
Yeah, it's hard to say because everybody's different returning from injuries like that. It's hard to know if he can be the type of player who's just going to accelerate the rehab really, really well and be able to try out there late September, early October, or if it's really going to take that long till kind of where we're more accustomed to seeing it happen in that November timeline. It's just hard to predict. It's hard to predict, and because of that, I think edge rusher defensive end now becomes something that Goody's at least going to throw some feelers out there and be like, all right, where's some value going to be at when the draft rolls around, especially I think at day 2.
Bingo. Yeah. What are you thinking here, man, as far as the best prospects available? I mean, this dude, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., linebacker out of Clemson, he is graded. If this was our draft board, he's the 68th best prospect. We would be getting him at 88. And the next prospect with, I guess the next amount of talent is the best way of saying it, will be Devontae Walker at 81st. I mean, it's probably too much value to pass up on, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I think Trotter or Peyton Wilson, either way, would be exceptional here. Peyton Wilson's a big guy as well, like 6'4", 234. Weighed in at the Senior Bowl at that.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, he would obviously be in consideration if Trotter wasn't still available at this selection.
Right.
Another one of those things when you're in these things, you're kind of looking like, all right, who's where's the value at right now?
Right.
Not sure where else you'd even turn.
All right, let's go Trotter Jr.
Yeah.
I'm a Trotter homer, so let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
And I think that's someone that honestly if you draft someone like a Jeremiah Trotter Jr., someone of that value, I think there's a good chance he starts in that 4-3. his rookie year. Don't you think so too? I mean, you got McDuffie, obviously, you got a little bit of Halfley experience there at Boston College. Obviously, Devondre Campbell, Quay Walker will be your front runners if Dre is on the roster, right? Yep. I mean, if you draft a rookie, there's a good chance whoever you draft there, whether it's in the first 3 rounds or what have you, probably going to compete with McDuffie for that 3rd spot, I would imagine. So,
yeah, I think what's interesting about Trotter is you're adding another really effective blitzer to your linebacker room, and you just think about him and Quay, like, oh, who's coming, who's not. Like, there's a lot of fun stuff you could do with him on the roster.
Yeah, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., 6 foot 230, thicker than a bowl of oatmeal. 1 year after Clemson boasted Trenton Simpson to the NFL. Let's see, draft stage. The Tigers have 2 more potential early round linebacker prospects in the 2024 draft. Jeremiah Trotter Jr., son of all-pro linebacker, NFL linebacker of the same name, comes in as our 2nd-ranked linebacker on our preliminary rankings. Another season of production could lock Trotter in this range. In 2022, Trotter put up 89 tackles, 13.5 tackles for a loss, 6.5 sacks, 2 picks,
so
5 deflections.
Man.
Yeah, dude, there you go, man. Him firing off that a little bit of that will blitz, some of that chaos that we talked about the line of scrimmage, right?
Yeah, Clayton had 7 sacks this past year.
Wow,
that guy's just blitzing at a high rate, 28 pressures.
Love it. All right, let's move on. We're now at the 91st pick. Is that right? Yeah. We're at 91 top prospects. Devontae Walker, wide receiver. Braylon Allen, running back out of Wisconsin. You got Peyton Wilson, linebacker out of NC State. I've actually got it listed that we need a starter and a backup. Running back Audric Estime out of Notre Dame. Tight end Cade Stover out of Ohio State. Offensive tackle Kyron, say it for me.
Amagaji.
All right. And then defensive tackle Braden Fisk. What are you thinking here, Jake? I can pull up any position, man.
I love the idea of the linebacker double up. However, Amagaji this late, yeah.
Oh yeah, let's read up on him.
Extremely aggressive player, and like I think his footwork's really, really good. It's and very much improved from his first season as a starter, and he's kind of lingering right on the threshold line for Green Bay right now. He's listed at 6'5" and an A321. We'll see if that's what he's at the combine. Sean Ryan was 321. That's kind of the limit that Goody has pushed at offensive line. And there you go. Elite athleticism. Feels like somebody that Green Bay is going to be interested in.
6'5", 321. At his peak.
I've got arm length too here.
Do you really? What is
36 3/4?
Oh my God. Talk about a punch, bro. Yeah. Holy cow. Yeah. Amagaji has the elite athleticism, power, and physicality to support a ceiling as an impact NFL starter. That was Ian Cummings said that back on December 6th. Something else it talks about here is Amagaji's quad injury will prevent him from showing off his skills on the all-star circuit, but at the same time, he should be able to make a full recovery after surgery. So there you go. Nothing to really worry about there. So are we good with that? Amagaji at tackle?
Yeah, I am. I would love to point out, I know people are saying, oh, injured. I know I see that. Injured, definitely a Packer. Peyton Wilson's also been injured a ton at NC State. So
gotcha.
Not doing there's not like there's not really a trade-off with the injury department if that's really where the discussion's leading. So
all right, let's go with Kyron Amagaji then, offensive tackle. We said we needed a starting offensive lineman, obviously at right guard or center, and shuffle the right guard around, and then 2 backups. This right here, I think, gives you a little bit of insurance, right? If Bach doesn't return, right? You could probably start Rasheed Walker or have Amagaji kind of compete with him for that spot. So let's do it. I like it, man. All right, so we got us a starting offensive lineman.
I know Denver says maybe that's why he's lower. I'll say PFF has him at like 40 or 41 on their board. It just feels like when you look at like the emphasis of need at offensive tackle right now, and with all of the talent that there is, I think it's going to be like it's going to be like beef jerky sale in the South, man. It's like it's going. We're out of here. Like guys are they're gone. Like in subsequent picks, it's going to be a frenzy.
Absolutely. All right, pick 126. Top prospects, hands down, defensive tackle according to this draft board. Defensive tackle Mason Smith out of LSU. He's at 101. Then it drops all the way down to 111. Wide receiver Malik Washington, cornerback Kyrie Jackson, running back Marshawn Lloyd out of USC, linebacker Traven Wallace out of Kentucky. Then you got a center Tanner Bortolini out of Wisconsin. So what are we thinking here, Jake? As far as defensive line, we already got our defensive lineman, right? We could use another corner. We still haven't taken a safety, but man, they went quick.
Yeah.
So
out
what
of
are we
curiosity,
thinking?
who's still there at safety? Just
A safety.
take a peek. Oh,
Mustafa.
Okay. Mustafa, Kenny Logan's got some experience in the single high looks. Smith kind of drops in the box and plays some nickel. Mustafa's a box guy as well. What's a little bit further down? Just to trying to plan ahead here.
Right.
Oh, we got. Oh, okay. I think we're okay.
All right. Cool. So if we go back to the all board, what are we thinking here?
I think for me, it's one of three. I think you go Kyrie Jackson, potentially 6'3", 196-ish at corner, plenty of size, athleticism there. Marshawn Lloyd is a feels really seamless fit.
A lot of zone.
So, not as much, but he is just really, really good at taking advantage of bad linebacker angles and safety angles.
Gotcha.
He's added some wiggle to his game. He showed it off at the Senior Bowl, and he's got the Aaron Jones build.
Yeah,
he's really got that 5'9", 216. There you go. It's right on that line. So,
I'm with you.
Wallace is the other one. I would say if you're going to double dip at linebacker, I think you could do it here. He's like 6'1", 244. There's your potential Mike/Sam linebacker.
Got it. For me, I think it would be Kyrie Jackson because, I mean, look, we've kind of neglected safety. It's how the board fell.
Yeah.
We said we could use as many as 4 corners, right? I don't know if Kyrie Jackson can play the slot or not. You got that information by chance?
I would lean towards no. Okay. But that doesn't mean that you can't just pop Quinyon Mitchell into the slot at any point.
Are you trying to tell me Quinyon Mitchell can play anywhere on the field? Is that what you're saying?
I feel like he want to play running back. Yeah, I probably could do that.
All right, let's go Kyrie Jackson here. All right, let's get us another corner. All right, so got that. What's cool is with PFF, we did a 2 mock saturation of PFF, and we swung and missed on corner. I say swung and missed. We only got 1 corner in each of those drafts. In this one with Pro Football Network, PFN, we've already got 2 corners, but no safeties. So it's cool to see how each one kind of plays out here, and this will give us an idea of how aggressive we need to be in free agency. So 167 tight end, McKalen Castles out of Tennessee at 158. You've got Aaron Casey, linebacker out of Indiana. 165 safety, Jay Stanley out of Southern Miss. 168 offensive tackle, Ladarius Henderson out of Michigan. What are we thinking here, Jake?
So I know he's listed as offensive tackle. It's where he played in his last year at Michigan. Arizona State, Ladarius Henderson, I got 6'4.5", 309 as the measurables here. He was a lot better when he was playing at guard at Arizona State and has zone experience. So if you're looking here for the okay, can this guy do it? Is there any guard experience from any player around this part of the draft? Probably lean Henderson. Otherwise, could get your tight end in Eric All here. Really like him from Iowa. Can get the job done there. But I think those are the 2 that I'm looking at the most. Because again, we're just not getting a Tamani Richardson. Could be a nickel. So, and we kind of have a lot of we've taken 2 corners to this point. And see, I kind of like the guys that are further down the list than the initial 3 that are there. Yeah. Oh, there's oh my gosh, there's so many. I have our last pick. I think we can wait for him.
I got
our last pick. I think we can wait for a safety.
I love it. All right, so if we go back to the total, it's going to come down to tight end or offensive tackle. I think with it being pick 167, how many picks do we got left here? So we've got left 1. Yeah, 4 more left. I think I would go offensive tackle. What you're looking at now is whoever you take at offensive tackle is going to be competing with Caleb. Oh God, what's his last name? It's escaping me.
Caleb Jones.
Caleb Jones, a big boy. So
as I said, I think Henderson to me right now is when you look at him at Arizona State at guard when he played there, he looks so much better.
Does he really?
And,
okay.
Yeah, and he's got the zone experience there as well. To me, that's more of where Green Bay is going to see him than playing tackle. I think if you go over the Michigan stuff, you're going to be like, that's not what we kind of want in a tackle. But tackle experience, best fit at guard, feels very Green Bay.
So that's, obviously John Runyon most likely out the door. So Ladarius Henderson will be competing with Sean Ryan there for the right guard spot, right?
Yep.
Cool. Let's do it. You good with it?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. So we got us offensive linemen there. So got 2 of the 3 offensive linemen we needed so far. Now we're at pick 203. We'll try to go rapid fire here. 195. You're laughing. Tell me what you're laughing at here. What are you seeing?
Gosh, I can't believe Marshawn Nealon is here. I figured, we had to get an edge rusher that was locked and loaded Green Bay fit. And then we've got Nealon still here, 6'3", 268. So official measurements from Mobile with 34-inch arms. Darn.
Whew. So we've already got the edge we needed. Do we just go ahead and say, you know what, let's build this room up even more? What do you think?
We could. I know the one other one that jumps out is Sion Vaki from Utah, because he's listed as like a redshirt sophomore, 2 years of mission trips.
Gotcha.
Limited snaps though at safety, but has a ton of athleticism. I would even look down. Yeah, you scrolled down. Evan Williams feels multifaceted from Oregon. Keaton Oladapo from Oregon State, really good box player who's improving his coverage skills. And then Dadrian Taylor-Demerson being this low is surprising. I think he's got single high potential from Texas Tech.
Gotcha.
There's some safety still here that I feel pretty comfortable with.
So what we think?
Have we gone? Did we go? We haven't gone running back.
We have not gone running back. We
have not done that, have we?
Let's check it out.
Not to keep this rolling for a long time.
Hey, it's all good.
But there's a lot of fits there too. Rasheen Ali will be coming off injury, but like McClellan and Milton are 2 guys that, if you'd like, not a lot of tread on the tires. There have been a lot of, rotation. Not that tread on the tires is a big running back argument anymore, but McClellan, good size, good burst. Kendall Milton, nice contact balance, really strong processor between the tackles. Couldn't go wrong either way. Okay. But we could, if we want to do the best available thing, this edge room is going to be special.
So you're saying Nealon, aren't you?
Did we take Eric all the tight end, or we went a different direction? Now it's escaped me. I got too excited.
Let's see here.
Did we pick him or no?
We
didn't.
Not, no,
okay, we didn't pick tight end. Spanford and Barner are good blocking tight ends. If that's interesting to the people.
Think about it. Okay, so outside of obviously Tucker.
Not to present too many options here.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Let's just go best available of what you just talked about right now. All obviously, if we just focused on need, let's just focus on need. Okay. So let's cross edge off. Let's cross defensive tackle off, right? Okay. Tight end is a need. We need a backup tight end. We need a ton of safety. We haven't drafted a safety yet, right? We have not drafted a safety yet, and we had it listed as 4 needs. So I kind of feel like
we could double dip.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot there.
So out of these top safeties here, who would you take? Who's your pick? Obviously they got Vaki ranked number 1, but what do you think?
If we want it, we can obviously play the ADP game a little bit, right? And be like, could Taylor-Demerson still be there at 217? But if you want to risk it, I would go Oladapo, because I think that's a good contrasting style with Taylor-Demerson. But if you are afraid you might lose out on Demerson, Evan Williams from Oregon's more complete in his profile.
Well, Evan Williams is ranked higher. Let's do that.
All right. Let's do it.
All right, let's go Evan Williams safety. So we got that. Bang.
Oh,
all right,
Oladapo's still there. Okay.
215. Oladapo's still there. You've got let's see what we got overall here. Oh, yeah, I think we did it right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So tight end Spanford is still there, ranked 199. We're picking at 215. We still need a tight end too. If we went off of just needs, obviously we need a tight end, a halfback, backup linebacker, 2 corners, 1 more offensive lineman, and 3 safeties.
Yeah.
You think just go ahead and double dip with the safety?
I think we might as well with Oladapo. Yeah.
Cool. Let's do it.
I think might as well.
All right, we got Oladapo at safety. Cross it off. So I'm liking this draft as far as filling the needs for sure. 242. Here we are again. Still need 2 safeties, 2 corners, 1 offensive lineman, a linebacker, tight end, and a halfback. What we thinking here?
I think we got to go running back.
Okay.
To fill this out.
All right. You got Rasheen Ali out of Marshall. You've got Jace McClellan out of Alabama. Running back Kendall Milton out of Georgia. You've got Aiden Robinson out of BYU. What are you thinking here?
I'm thinking, do we want like the most explosive playmaker at the position? That's Rasheen Ali from Marshall. And I know he got hurt, unfortunately, in Mobile. But man, I mean, when he was out there for one practice, he moves different. His straight line speed is different from everybody else out there.
Is the injury a concern?
It was a what was it? It was like an upper body, pec, shoulder, arm injury, something like that. McClellan's been good as well.
Do you have Ali's size?
Yeah, I do. It's 5'11" and 3/8, 204. All these guys are over 200.
Gotcha. Okay.
So any 3 of them would fit here.
Let's go Ali.
All right,
let's do it. Bang. Got a running back. Good stuff there.
We got one more. Right. Oh.
So let's see here. Yeah, I think we've got one more pick at 250. So
did we do the linebacker double up yet?
2 safeties, 2 corners, 1 offensive lineman, 1 linebacker, 1 tight end are the needs. What are we thinking here?
Oh my! From the producers that brought you Traven Wallace from Kentucky, I present Nathaniel Watson from Mississippi State. I believe they're exactly the same size.
I don't have it here, so gotcha.
It is. Oh no! Okay, 6'1", 244 was Wallace. 6'2", 244 is Watson.
6'2", 242. Oh boy!
Yeah, big boy.
Let's do it.
All
right. So 242 on the board. We're getting him at 250. Good value there. Bang. There is your mock draft. So as far as how that filled out, let's grab us a screenshot real quick. What we're doing, saving these. We're archiving them. That way we can go back and kind of look at what we were able to accomplish as free agency gets ready to kick off. And we'll kind of have an idea of what we're doing there for sure. So with that being said, there you go. Let's see if I can get it to pull up. I'm going to have to delete something though, man. I'll tell you what. We are at max capacity with the screen grabs. My computer is, or not my computer, but anyway, StreamYard's going, what are you doing, dude? I know you're paying for extra space, but no one is geeked out like you on here. So there you go.
StreamYard's going, stop doing mock drafts.
Exactly.
The chat saying do more mock drafts.
So with PFN, the 25th pick, Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback out of Toledo. I'm trying not to laugh, but I'm just like, if that somehow happens, oh my goodness. Defensive tackle at 41, you got defensive tackle Leonard Taylor out of Miami. Number 58, you got Braylon Trice out of edge out of Washington. Number 88, my boy Jeremiah Trotter Jr. out of Clemson, linebacker. 91, you got offensive tackle Kyron. Say it for me. Amagaji.
Oh yeah, Amagaji. Yep.
All right. 126, cornerback Kyrie Jackson. 167, offensive tackle Ladarius Henderson. 203, Evan Williams, safety out of Oregon. Number 215, you got Cotton Oladapo out of Oregon State. He's a safety. 242, you got running back Rasheen Ali. Like I said, battled a little injury down there in Mobile, but should be all right there. 250, linebacker Nathaniel Watson. So essentially what we came away with here, Jake, when we look at the needs that we had, and we feel we needed 4 safeties, 4 corners, 3 offensive linemen, 1 defensive lineman, 2 backers, 1 tight end, 1 halfback, 1 edge. What we came away still needing is 2 safeties, 2 corners, 1 offensive lineman, and a tight end. Not too bad. So obviously we didn't get our starting safety, but we did get a stud cornerback. It's really interesting to see how these different websites, how it plays out much different.
Yeah.
You know?
It's very strange because if you try to get Mitchell, Trice, Trotter, Amagaji in the same mock, you'd have to have 4 top 50 picks on PFF side of things. So that's right. Like, you could tell my shock. You could tell I've never done a PFN simulator yet because I'm like, how is this guy still here? You know?
Right.
But it's impressive. I don't know.
So we got a super chat here from CG. Thank you so much for supporting the stream. Appreciate you. Said, check out Kansas State guard Cooper Beebe in the third, 80-plus PFF grade, All-American, and looks and plays like an absolute mauler. When I did my little mini position mock draft breakdown as far as at the top of the heap, kind of that top tier at each position, if you will, offensive line, what I had was ranked first was Powers Johnson. Ranked second was Christian Haynes, and then I had Cooper Beebe third. So he was in my top 4 as far as offensive lineman. Where would you put him, Jake? Just obviously you don't have all your information in front of you. Your board, I'm sure, is not complete. Where would you put Beebe as we get ready to wrap this thing up? As far as like offensive line ranking, would you say he's in the top 5 of offensive line? Would you say he's where would you put him?
For interior guys? Absolutely. He's played 4 spots on the line in his career.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's played 778 snaps at left tackle, 1,847 at left guard, 25 at right guard, 476 at right tackle. They've put him everywhere. He's done well everywhere. As long as he's not, I don't know. We'll see. The PFF lists him at 6'4", 335, which is well outside of what Green Bay usually does with size thresholds, but somebody sent me one that's got him at 322. If he's anywhere near 320, Green Bay's interested. And that would make a lot of us, I think, very happy because there's your tackle experience and positional flexibility along the offensive line.
Everything but center, right? Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Thank you, CG. Appreciate it. You got anything you want to add before we wrap this thing up? I said an hour tonight, maybe under an hour. We're at hour 25, so you know how it goes. Carly said, I am not hanging around. As soon as I said mock draft, she said, I'm out of here.
Clayton made a mistake. He allowed me to come on and extend the show like 40 minutes longer than it should have been. That's my bad. But I think it's fun that you're doing these like almost every day because it just gives you a nice idea of what's available at certain spots, and I know that depends on the simulators, right? But it gives you a really nice look at the draft class as a whole. You're like, all right, where's linebacker the most valuable? What have we seen at the most valuable, right? Where are the trenches most valuable? Where do you need to get corners? Because obviously Green Bay needs a lot in the secondary. So it gives you a nice mix of like, okay, this is what all of these sites think. And this is kind of when we pull it all together, where do we kind of have to get these guys? So it's a good exercise.
Yeah. So like Pro Football Network, and we'll wrap up with this. Just example here. We said, if the draft happened before free agency, what we basically came away still needing would be 2 safeties, 2 corners, an offensive lineman, and a tight end. When we looked at free agency this year, we couldn't find any offensive lineman that we liked, especially for their fair market value. It's like, I'm not willing to pay that for Connor, I think it was Connor Williams out of Miami, stud, right? But probably not going to be available till well into December because of the ACL, if I remember correctly. So what we had was linebacker Bobby Wagner, safety Geno Stone, safety Alohi Gilman, safety Darnell Savage, which have you heard any rumors about him? Because I heard someone saying the other day that there's rumors that the Packers are planning on keeping him. Did you hear that?
Who? Savage?
Savage, yeah.
I don't see why they wouldn't keep him, honestly, because I think this system, at least from what we've kind of, what you've gathered from talking, to others, like Coach Haddad, like hearing that. And like just thinking about like, okay, Savage, what does he do really well? He drops into the robber, drops into the hole, and he's got speed to cover anybody that enters his area. And like to me, that's exactly what you want in that safety. Now I know he's not the biggest guy to be in the box and stuff like that, but do that, play some nickel. Like it just seems like it's almost like the fit is getting better for him right now with this defensive coordinator change. As long as the money's like reasonable, I don't see why not.
See, that's me. Like, and I think they had his market value set at $5 million, if I remember correctly. So $5 million per. He's 26 years old. Signed him to a 3-year deal, which Goody kind of likes those 3-year deals. So here's the way I would see it, though. As we looked at this mock draft here, right, what we just put together, and based off of our needs that we still needed 2 safeties, right? So the safety we took was obviously it wasn't until pick 203, right? So if this were the case and the draft was before free agency, I would go after both Geno Stone at $6.5 million per. And by the way, he graded out as the what was this? 4th in passer rating when targeted at 37.9 last year. I mean, just a stud. That guy can play center field, not a great run defender, but that guy that can play that single high look. And then, of course, you got Alohi Gilman. I think his passer rating when targeted was 60.3. Oh, by the way, we just hired our DB coach, was his DC with the LA Chargers. If you go and grab those two safeties, I think you could avoid re-signing Darnell Savage. Although if you took Savage and one of those two guys, I think I would prefer – that's tough, man, because we kind of played Savage spinning into the box more than just playing center field. Obviously, when Rudy Ford and him were on the field together, Rudy Ford was the guy playing center field, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of had Savage, playing that rat, right, coming underneath, obviously the pick six, all that good stuff. So, I think this plays out pretty good because you can get your safeties. As far as offensive linemen, I would stay away from Connor Williams, but we did like guard Greg Von Roten at $2.7 million. That might be someone you could pick up.
That's cheap.
So if, going back to this draft real quick, the offensive lineman we took offensive tackle, Amagaji with the 91st pick, right? We took offensive tackle Ladarius Henderson out of Michigan, which you said was more of a guard, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, and you could also go and pick up Greg Von Roten for probably $2.5 to $2.7 million. I would feel a lot better about that offensive line. My gosh.
Oh yeah.
So
absolutely.
All right, there you go. Anything else you want to add, man?
No, not a whole lot. Just remember, Chad, keep manifesting Quinyon Mitchell to be available at 25. Yes. That's the goal. That's the goal this offseason, if there's any.
Yeah. We do not encourage ayahuasca on this program. Okay. However, whatever you got to do to get Quinyon Mitchell on the board when we pick at 25.
Yep.
There you go. All right. With that being said, we're out of here. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. Give a special shout out to the super chats. Jay, thank you so much, buddy. We appreciate you. CG, thank you for the super chat and the Connor BB talk. You guys are awesome. We will see you guys most likely tomorrow morning for Good Morning Lambeau. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. And go, Pack, go.
The power sweep. Actually, it's the lead play in our offense. We ask our YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet. Get an isolation with the linebacker. Tell the tackle to take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here. Try to run this play in the alley.